partial stances, and I'll make some arrangements with Ms. Sharp on that, and with Mary, but she's not here. And I'm a little concerned about the fee. Right now, the fee for weekdays, and I don't pretend to be a specialist, but I did a little math in my head. I'm thinking that a lot of events might be a 4-hour event, might well have 50 people at them, maybe 60, probably not an unusual number. If you work out the math at something like 100 or 120, you're looking at $10 a piece just to pay for the room. If you have a band or something in there, that's going to need some money, and pretty soon you have something that most people in the community aren't going to be able to afford. And so I think I have no problem with the regular rate for people outside the community, and I'm very appreciative that we do have a nonprofit resident rate. I'm assuming that's, if you're a resident, you're not, and you just want to organize something, you're nonprofit too, I guess, but you're mainly a resident. I'm thinking maybe the Sunday through Thursday hourly rate, we might want to bring it down more into the 120 an hour sort of range, or maybe a little less, I don't know. So I would put that out for my fellow commissioners, just, if they have some thought on that. And then I've got one or two more related to it. Yes, you're close, right? It's in they're printing very small too. It's this one. I think the weekend rate, maybe you could argue that should be a little lower, but that I think is less important, that at least during the week, Sunday through Thursday, we give a little bit better break to the residents.
It's pretty reasonable, but I know.
I mean, that's where I say, if you work the numbers at
I know
50 people.
I plan in numerous
Yeah, I
events.
know, I'm sure you've more than I have. I've done some,
There's
but
like nothing even close to that rate.
But remember that this is, think of it as a works project administration building
With the entire
for the
ballroom
community.
for $140.
They can have half if you want. We just didn't put the divider. We talked about doing that for that reason, but we didn't do it. Maybe we'll submit.
Commissioner Maruso?
For 40 years, we have given this beach complex away. These are truer costs now. There is a cost affiliated with the beach project in all facets. Utilities now, ballroom. These are costs based on staff doing research all over Palm Beach County. They went to other cities. They put research together. And at the end of the day, you can't give the space away. These are costs that are actually truer costs. We have utilities, we have other staff members. We don't even have half of the things that the beach project needs right now. We don't have. You just mentioned a divider. We don't have funds for a divider. There is no divider. How do you divide a room without funds for a divider? So there's a lot of other costs that aren't even figured in yet that are going to be coming up and sneaking up on us because they were never put into the original beach project plan. So, these are costs that you need, these basic costs to pay your bills. And I don't think the city can take on more expenses to open it up to a public benefit.
Commissioner Zerdy?
If you, and this is not a pleasant memory, if you could remember what was there prior to what's there now. The reason it was the way it was because there wasn't money put in to keep and maintain it. It's in a very harsh climate. Mr. Ruiz knows that it's a real tough situation there to keep that place in shape. And it's not just the electric bill or the water bill and everything else that goes along with it. It's trying to be smart enough to put money and keep money there so that you can keep it up and maintain it. So I think staff has put in, like Commissioner Amoroso has already said, there's a lot of time and effort into these things, research that's gotten done. We've talked about it, and again, this is on trial. I mean, we could always amend these things if we need to, but I think it's probably a very reasonable start, and we need to adopt this so that they can get going and we can book these things and feel confident that she's being fair to everybody where everything's in the open.
Commissioner McAvoy?
I appreciate the comments about cost, and I've been involved with organizations in other parts of the country that have nonprofits that build spaces, that use them for dances, that have dance spaces, all that sort of thing. I'm very aware of that and of the costs. What is prominent in my mind is that this building is bringing in revenue from all of the businesses that are in it. That is our primary source of revenue for it. And we did better than we expected on the business model when we did that. I am also very aware, and I've heard this for probably not 10 years, but certainly 6 or 8 years from all sorts of people in the community, that people have had in the old building, which, as Commissioner Zerdy correctly points out, was not exactly a shining place. But there are a lot of people in this community that had very significant experiences in that building, that they graduated there, that they went to dances there, that they met their wife there at a dance, that they went regularly. And I think we need to not lose sight that this is primarily, the land was donated to us by a family to the city as a public park. We, I believe, have an obligation to make sure that at least in that whole building, that there's one part of it that has as a focus, maybe even at a slightly subsidized rate, has as a focus, this is a community gathering place. And I'm not saying all the time, it will be rented out at the commercial rate plenty of times. Believe me, we're not gonna fill it up with them. And there are not that many Finns in town or Poles or whatever who want to have dances, or seniors or whatever. There'll be some, there's been interest expressed. But I think we wanna make sure that we have that space, at least during the off-peak part of the week, Sunday through Thursday, as a community space. That is something, we have a challenge in this community that some communities don't have. We have a very diverse community. Trying to find ways to bring people together to have positive experiences in our public space, that's our space, I think has a value that's very difficult to put a monetary value on. That's my plea, and I rested it there. I'm in at $120 an hour for Sunday through Thursday. And I'll raise you too.
Well, and if you plan on being there with Terry to clean after every event that's there, that alone, the size of that ballroom is, you know, I mean, there's, like you said, the very real expenses. I understand what you're saying.
I'm very aware of that aspect, and yes, I would help clean. I won't be there for everything.
But I think we can move on.
I just wanted to make one comment. This is not a nonprofit. We are already over budget with our CAM, with quite a few other things at the beach, and at the end of the day, it is not a nonprofit. It is a for business. There is public space there at the park. All over the park, there is lots of public space to have barbecues and events. We have public space all over the entire city that's not being utilized. This is not a nonprofit.
We've got a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Mind if we take a quick break, guys? Thank you.